just woke up about. Oh, I woke up at 12 minutes past 6, and it's almost 7 o'clock. Hang on, I'm just having a sip of my coffee. I need it so bad. This dream I had, man. I'm I'm not shaking, but I want to shake because of the magnitude that what happened. So my words are all over the place because I'm. So I had a dream that I was looking at photos of my niece's funeral, of my Amber's funeral. She couldn't have looked more Viking if she tried, to be honest. But how do I explain it? I was looking at photos of her funeral, but she was sitting on the floor. She'd just had her hair done, and my sister Erin was showing me her hair and what her hair looked like before, getting her body prepared for her casket, which was Amber was sitting on the floor at the end of a bed, and everyone who was coming had come for the tangi, who had bought their change of clothes and all of that, all their bags and that were piled up on this bed. And then I was like saying to Amber in this photo, your hair looks fantastic, you look amazing, you look absolutely beautiful. And she gave me this big beaming smile, and she held up this piece of paper that had this symbol on it. And I didn't know what it was. Looking at it, I didn't know what it was. It was like, imagine a stick figure, like a line, a stick figure, but with no legs and no head. And its arms were raised. And then the photo became animated, and she said to me, Uncle Odin wants to speak to you. And I was shocked. I was like, what? And I was like, because I was thinking, oh my God, what have I done? And I thought, I'm in trouble for, am I in trouble? I was like, am I in trouble? And she was laughing. She said, you need to go and see Uncle Odin. And I was like, did I do something wrong? And I was panicking, thinking, because of what I'd done to Trump, like because of what I'd been doing, because I conjured Odin, and I thought, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Oh my God, I'm in trouble. And I was thinking, I was saying, but I thought I was just panicked. But I've been a good girl. I haven't done anything wrong. And I said, well, where do I meet him? I'm still shaking. I'm not physically shaking. I'm shaking on the inside. And she kind of moved, and a little bit of her coffin. She was cremated, by the way. A little bit of her coffin was poking out from under the bed. And it was 70s green. And she said, go through there. So I had to crawl under her bed because a little bit of the coffin casket, it was a casket, was poking out. So I had to crawl under the bed. I don't know how, but I opened the coffin, the casket's lid, and I stepped into the casket. Like I crawled into the casket, I kind of slithered in like a snake, because I was under a bed, but obviously it was a high bed because I was able to open the casket lid. And I slithered into the coffin. And it had like a false bottom, and it opened up into these basement stairs. And when I sort of got in enough that my feet were no longer in the coffin and I was fully down, under the ground, I was able to stand and go down the steps. And it was like I was inside a mountain, because it was all like rocky and that, but it wasn't bricks, or it wasn't like carved stone. It was like a rocky mountain, and it smelt like, do you know what pumice smells like? If you know what pumice stone smells like, in New Zealand, we use pumice to get the dry skin off our feet. You soak your feet in water, in warm water, or when you've had a bath, and then you use the pumice stone to scrape it along your feet to get the dry skin off your feet. It smelt like pumice. And I was walking along this corridor that was lit by torches that were hanging off the wall, just fire. And I came into this circular part of the mountain. Hang on, I need a coffee, because I'm telling you now, I wish it was bloody gin. And there, on a throne of what looked like onyx, sat Odin. And he was huge. He was huge. He looked like he had jet black hair. He had jet black eyes. He had a beard that was grey, but his hair was jet black. But it's like he was covered in soot. It's the only way I can describe it. And Jerry and Frankie were on either side. And he had a crow on his shoulder, this massive crow. And the crow went, "Meow." And it's funny because I woke up with the crows demanding food. So I just went out and gave them an offering. And he was looking straight at me, and he just, without lifting his hand, he moved his fingers, and he said, "Come." And as I was walking towards him, I was trying to think of like excuses as to, like, getting ready to prepare my argument to explain myself. And Jerry and Frankie came running over and were circling me and rubbing up against me, and I was patting them, and because they're huge wolves, they're absolutely ginormous. They were, came up to my hip, and I'm 6 foot, and I was sort of thinking, if I'm good to the wolves, he won't yell at me, because I thought I was in trouble. And I got to his feet and I knelt. I knelt and I said, "Hail Odin." And he said, do you know what you've done? And he said, "Child, stand." And he said, "Do you know what you've done?" And I said, "Uncle Odin, let me explain." I said, "He's a bad man." And I said, "He's been doing horrible things, and he's threatening my king, on earth, and he's hurting a lot." And he goes, "Silence." He held his hand and he goes, "Silence." But he didn't yell, he just goes, "Silence." It's like, okay, that's enough. And he goes, "Actually, I have something for you." And he stood up, and just like a magician, when they hide a coin, he pulled this coin out, this thing out from his hand, from his fingers. And he stepped down and he walked towards me and he pinned it on my chest. And he said, "This is yours forever now." And he kissed both sides of my cheek. He grabbed me by the shoulders. He kissed both sides of my cheeks. And he said, "You did fantastic." And then I just felt this wave of relief. He said, "Do you have any idea how proud we are of you?" He said, "You did fantastic. You did everything right. And then, oh, and he said, you are forever protected. And he tapped where he'd pinned this rune thing on my shoulder, and it was the same symbol that Amber had held up that you see in the thumbnail. And then I just looked it up. Like he said to me, if there's ever anything you need, you know where I am. And he said, go. The crow will let you out. And then I woke up and the crows were yelling at me to be fed, so I've just went and fed the crows. I've just looked up the rune, it's in the thumbnail. But one thing else that I'm going to put in the post of my YouTube, that symbol, Elas, there's a crows, Elas, how it's pronounced, Elas, I'm slaughtering the language, I'm so sorry, of that rune in the thumbnail. It tells you what it means. And I almost fell over. But when I was looking up the symbol, I almost fell over because it also is the symbol for Aries. And Amber's are Aries. And remember the first sign, my Harry Potter movie? You can't make this stuff up. It's also the symbol for Gemini. And we're in Gemini season. It's also the symbol for Jupiter. And Jupiter is Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is the sign for academia. So he was basically saying, I've stepped into my power because I've learned everything I've needed to learn about the occult, and I've now been given safe passage by the God of all gods, Odin. Because I used the occult the right way to deal with Lucifer and the Gog and Magog. Because I'm using the occult the right way to deal with Trump and Starmer and Musk and von der Leyen and all that, the cult of Odin. He is highly offended that they're using him for their god of worship, and he's denied them powers, and it's now the consequences of using a god that isn't their right to worship is now coming back on them. However, I am forever protected now, and when you read the symbols of what it all means, the gift of being able to communicate between the living and the dead, like spirit communication, it's like he was saying, I passed the test, I aced my test. So my deceased niece, in a photo that I had to step into to crawl under her bed or under this bed to get into a casket that she was about to be buried in at her funeral in my dream, took me to the underworld because I was summoned by Odin, where he pinned a badge on my chest and told me he was proud of me because I nailed using the occult. I thought I was getting into trouble. I thought he was going to tell me off for saying Zeus instead of Thor. I thought he was going to tell me off because I've been using, occult physics to hold Donald Trump and Keir Starmer and Musk and all that accountable for everything they've done to me, my sons, and all their other victims for targeting my king and Putin and all of that. And it turns out it's because he wanted to give me a kiss and a hug and tell me he was proud of me and pin a badge on my chest. He was huge. His hands were like, his hands, like if he was to close his fist, would have been like the size of my head. He was huge. And he was so proud of me. with it. His jet black eyes looked like onyx. He had long jet black hair, but his beard was grey. He had like animal skins and stuff around him, and he had like these leathery bracelet things on that had like gold and brass and copper and Jerry and Frankie. They were so quiet. They loved me. I kind of knew it can't have been all that bad if they weren't yelling, if the wolves weren't coming at me, but I was still scared. Because wolves are one of my totems, and I am the grandchild of Mother Earth. So animals don't generally have a problem. Like, I'm not really going to have any issues with animals in my dream because I don't have issues with them in real life. Animals don't growl and hiss and all of that. I don't get targeted by animals. I'm probably one of the few people in Australia who never got attacked by magpies. I just never have bad encounters with animals. But yeah, my insides are still pounding. So Odin's proud of me, and I've passed some major test, like the final. It's like the final test. You did it. So I'm going to go and finish my coffee and that now, and just sit in the awesomeness of what happened. Obviously, part of my battle, part of my lesson with my holy war must have been, can she be trusted to use her powers correctly, to not take it too far, to know restraint, to know when to bring it out, not to use it for vengeance, or like, can she use it the right way on the right people for the right reason, sort of thing. And obviously I did. And now Uncle Odin's proud of me. So I'm a little bit strutting, but at the same time with healthy ego. So I'm going to go, and I'll put the other post up. You'll see, you'll be like, oh my God. So yeah, thanks, Amber. What a dream. I haven't dreamed about her in weeks. But it was technically, I was looking at a photo of her, and I had to crawl into the photo. She must be, I'm wondering if she's getting ready to be conceived. Because I had to go to her. Usually she comes to me, but I had to go to her. I had to step into her world, which is death. I had to step into death in order to access her. But she was getting her hair all zhuzhed, and she looked absolutely gorgeous. She was glowing. She was wearing like this white jacket thing. She looked absolutely gorgeous. She was glowing like an angel. She had this glow about her. So I'm wondering if she's getting ready to be conceived. She passed away 29th of September last year. And we've just started June, so yeah. Anyway, I'll put the thing in the post of this YouTube. So there you go. I'll speak to you later. Needless to say, Donald Trump, Keir Starmer and Elon Musk and the cult of Odin are in a shit ton of trouble. And I think I'm sort of being told now, just sit back and we're going to take care of the rest. Like, you've done everything you need to do. You passed the test. You're getting justice. You get to move on and we're going to take care of the bad guys. Like, you brought them to us, you done what we needed you to do, and now we'll take it from here. You just get ready for what's coming next, sort of thing. So, they're in trouble. But I'm a good girl, I got a badge. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō. I'm going off with my badge now.